Test, test, test. Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to talk about prediction markets for distilled human judgment. So first we're going to go a bit through prediction market primitives and then see how we can apply it to distilled human judgment. So what's a prediction market? So that's a way to get some probabilistic estimate of the future. You probably all followed the US election, and we had those markets which were asking who will win the election, Trump, Harris, and you can trade those outcomes, and it provides some probabilistic estimates. But we can also get more complex signals. So we had, for example, those markets on if Trump wins the election, what will be the price of Bitcoin? If Harris wins the election, what will be the price of Bitcoin? And we could see that the market were giving higher Bitcoin price in the universe of Trump winning than in the universe of Harris winning. And indeed, once the result became known, Bitcoin price increased. Obviously, the prediction was not completely exact. We got like 8,000 extra compared to 3,000 extra, but it was still some interesting signal. So how does it work from a technical perspective? So you have an underlying token. Let's say it can be like a USD stablecoin or ETH. You put it into a market, which is a question, and you get a complete set of outcomes. So which party will win the election? You get Democratic Party, Republican Party, other. That's ERC20 tokens. You can trade them wherever you want. And when you see the price, let's say, of the Democratic token at 38 cents, you can infer that the market is giving a 38% chance of the Democrat winning the election. At the end of the day, we know what is the outcome. So you use a subjective oracle for that, like Kleros. And in this case, you redeem the correct outcome for the underlying. So at the end, since the Republican won the election, all the Republican token, they got turned into DAI. We can go further than just outcomes. We can go on values. So here we want to make a market to predict the inflation. So we can ask what will be the inflation next year. We have to define a range, 0 to 10%. And we have some up token and some down token. So if the value is above the range, the up token redeem. If the value is lower than the range, the down token redeem. But if it's within the range, and that's what it should be, if the range is defined correctly, they both redeem proportionally. So the up token redeems proportionally to the value. The down token is a complement of the up token, so that they both sum to 1. So here, for example, if we can see that the up token is trading at 80 cents, we can infer that the market is giving an expected value of inflation of 8%. Okay, now contingent market, what we can do, we can take some prediction market, we can take the outcome, and we can put it into another market. So here we ask who will be the candidate of the Democratic Party. We get the Biden token, we put it into another market, which is which party will win the election. And now here we have a token which is a Biden Democrat token, so it redeems for $1 if Biden is a candidate and the Democrat Party wins the election. And if we look at the price of this token in terms of the price of the Biden token, we can infer conditional probabilities that if Biden is a candidate, the Democrat will have 30% chance of winning the election. Okay, so now let's go how we can use that for decision. Let's go into footarchy. So the idea of footarchy is you're going to take decision by using prediction market, in particular conditional prediction markets. So here, let's assume you are a voter, you only care about the price of Bitcoin, you care about nothing else. You can see this market and you say, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump because that will be what will be the highest price of the Bitcoin. In practice, people value more complex things, but that's to give you a simplified version of it. So in classic footarchy, let's go again with the Democrat Party. You want to send the best candidate to the election. So you make the first market. Which candidate will we pick? Biden, Harris, or someone else? And then you put this token into the second market. So you get the Biden Democrat, you get the Harris Democrat. And those tokens, you can trade them with the token of the first market. So you can trade Biden Democrat with Biden, you can trade Harris Democrat with Harris. And actually, you don't even need to have a market for those tokens themselves. Only the conditional market here is interesting. And since you see that Harris has more chances of winning if she's a candidate, well, you can pick Harris. That's to increase your chances. Okay, remember the scalar market. Most of the time, we don't optimize for a specific outcome. Most of the time, we want to optimize for metrics. So if you combine all of that together, let's say you launch a new chain, you want to get user on your chain, and you have a bunch of projects which are coming to you, and they say, hey, can you give me some grant? and I will bring you some users because of what I'm going to build on your chain. You can make a first market, which is which project will be funded. This market, you don't need to trade on it. It's not really interesting to trade on it. But then you put $1, and you get a complete set of the project A, project B, project C, and project D tokens. And those tokens, you will trade them in the second level market, where they ask, how many users will this project get if it gets funded? So a trader can come, they go with some dollars, they split some complete set, and they can trade in all of those conditional markets. At the end of the day, you tend to pick what is the best project, so you pick project B. All the trade done with project C, D, and A token, they end up not having any impact on the profit and loss of the traders, and only the trade done on project B will impact the profit and loss of the trader. So if a trader was only knowledgeable about project A, they could just trade on project A, and they would have kept B, C, and D token, and since B will redeem, they would just get their money back. But trader can also trade in all the universe at once. Here an idea is that similar to an exam, if you have an exam, you may have a bunch of topics, and because you don't know which topic will end up at the exam, you have to try to be good on all topics, be knowledgeable on all topics. So here you want to trade well on all the markets. So what do we want to optimize in Futarchy? Back in the day, they were talking a lot about this as a method of governance for states, which I think is interesting because decisions are so valuable that the cost of running the markets are negligible compared to the impact it could have, but states are a bit hard to convince. So here they will optimize for GDP, Human Development Index, or any metrics they could vote on. But now we see that crypto projects tend to be way more likely to experiment on it. And so they can try to optimize for user, for TVL, for fees. But those metrics cannot give the full picture of how successful was the project. And sometimes we need some subjective evaluation. So we could use a system we already have, like RetroPGF, or we have all this work which is done in terms of impact evaluation, where you want to evaluate the impact of a project, and then you can trade on those markets, which is, if this project is funded, what will be the value of the impact metric? And you can fund the project with the highest impact metric. Okay, so now let's go into the deep of Distilled human judgment. So we have this nice experiment that we are starting. So I ask a bunch of people on Twitter to give me some movies that I would like or that I will dislike. I remove all the movies I already watched, and then we make this market, which is asking if I watch a movie, which score in terms of percentile I will give to the movie. So traders, they can trade those movies conditionally on me watching them. And you can see, for example, that I think people think I will like 12 Angry Men. It's probably because of Kleros. And if I watch 12 Angry Men and I give maybe like a 70% rating, people who bought the up token of 12 Angry Men, they will get some profit. If I don't like it, I give 25% rating, they will get some losses. Here I'm going to watch 5 of them, and most of those movies will not be watched. But traders, they have to trade them correctly in case I end up watching them. So you can see it with 2 lenses. You can see the first lens, which is the lens of Futarchy. I can use it to make decisions, to determine what I want to watch. But you can also see this as Distilled human judgment. Like if we wanted to get a fully comprehensive list of movie rating according to my taste, I could not watch all of them, obviously. But then we could make a very large market with thousands of movies. And here human will probably not be able to trade those, but now we can get AI agents which can look at my preference, look at my previous rating, look at public information on me, and then trade in those markets, and you will be able to rate the whole movie space according to my taste. So that will be Distilled human judgment only of me, but we can do Distilled human judgment of a group. So with the deep funding, you had this project where they want to evaluate the impact of project to Ethereum, either directly, like for example, if you see level 1 node, there are direct impact on Ethereum, but you also have second level, and actually even third and fourth and fifth level, but we did not show them in the graph, it would be too big. And we can wonder what is the impact of this project to this project, which would then impact Ethereum indirectly. And so we want to assign credit for the impact of Ethereum of all the projects, even if the impact is indirect. So on the first version of this experiment, they took some committee, which are rating the impact of project, and then they got some AIs, which were trying to estimate the rating of the committee without knowing it, and then they ranked the AI, which one was the best at matching the committee evaluation. But the committee is only evaluating a subset of project, because otherwise you don't scale. But here, with a committee which may evaluate 2 or 3 groups of projects, you could have multiple thousands of projects, and then the AI would be giving a distilled judgment of what the committee will evaluate if it were to evaluate those parts of the graph. So how can we do that better with prediction market? Instead of just giving prize on the leaderboard, we can turn all of those into markets, where we ask, if this level 2 is evaluated, what will be the impact score of B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6? And maybe it's not evaluated. So in this case, all the trade of the AI have no impact on their finances. But if they are evaluated, in this case, AI will get some profit and loss, depending on how good they were at trading those. And now we end up with a full graph from the prediction market, which is a distilled human judgment of the committee. And AI may not even be good at evaluating the whole graph. Maybe you have an AI, it's just good at this level 2, and it's only going to be trading on level 2. Now let's do a small parallel with auctions. So auctions tend to be a pretty old economic technology. You want to sell some items, and you will have some human. They will say, hey, like, give me if you want to increase the price. And that's what most people picture when they think about auctions. But actually, nowadays, most of the auctions are auctions which are made by computer and traded by AIs, which are for advertisement space. And you have massively more AI auction than you have actually human auction where humans are bidding. And I think we're going to see a similar parallel with prediction markets. Currently, we got Polymarket. They've been pretty good at making market about the news. But soon, perhaps in 2 and 5, maybe 10 years, but that will be very, very long, we are going to see something similar, where most of the prediction market will not be traded by humans, but they will be traded by AIs. So on the movies, you could have, if you have some decentralized Netflix, to determine what to show to the user, they could ask, if this user watches this movie, what will be the rating given by the user? And then you display that. Social media, you know, X. In X, they have a reaction score. Like if you quote tweet something, that's very high. If you reply, that's very high. If you like, that's high. If you just click on the tweet, that's average. If you block the guy who made the tweet, that's very, very low. So in this case, they would ask, if we show this post to the user, what will be the reaction score? We can also do that within the physical world. If you have a self-driving car, they can ask, if we take this route, how long will it take to reach the destination? And some AI can propose some route, and we have a prediction market on the length of each route, and then we take the route which is the shortest according to the prediction market. So the use cases are very endless, because most of the use of machine learning tend to be about optimizing something. So we have chatbot. In this case, they want to optimize your reaction score, like if you give them a plus vote, minus vote, or sometimes they even ask you to choose between 2 responses. So that's how they evaluate your reaction. Now we can ask a prediction market which answer will have the highest reaction score you display to the user, and you display the best answers. For advertisement, you want to optimize revenue. For pricing, like in airline mainly, of dynamic pricing, you want to optimize profit. Route optimization, we talk about that. Search engine, that's also something with reaction score. If you click on a website and you close it 2 seconds after, that's probably not what you were searching for. If you stay on it, that's probably what you're searching for. So you can get a reaction score based on the website which are shown to you. Recommender system, we talk about movies, but you can add that to, like restaurant review. Like if I go to this restaurant, will I give a good rating to it? If I go to this hotel, will I give a good rating to it? Spam. Spam is a very old problem. Like proof of work was even invented to fight spam. In this case, you can ask the AI if the user gonna change the classification to spam or to non-spam. And lending, you can ask if this user is gonna get the loan, will he reimburse or not? So in general, you have something you want to optimize. You want to find X, which is optimizing some kind of metric that you want in your system. Why do we do that instead of just taking the best AI? Because taking the best AI is probably not going to lead to the best AI. So in 2009, we had the Netflix price, where they had a bunch of movies, a bunch of user data on the movie rating, and they were giving $1 million to whomever will get the best prediction of the user score, that's some score that they kept secret. At the end, you had the Belcore Pragmatic Chaos who won this competition, and that was basically a merger of the Belcore, the Pragmatic, and the Chaos team. They merged together to get the best model. So you had multiple AI developers, and also they had a bunch of different models. So they had a bunch of models, and then they had what we call ensemble models, which were taking the output on the initial model and combining them together into a better model. And I think prediction market can be used as like the ultimate ensemble method. So why it's great is because you don't need to reveal your model if you want to participate. So you don't leak information to the competitors, but you can still provide information to the system which wants your evaluation. You get automated collaboration. Here you only had 3 teams which merged together because human coordination is hard, but market coordination is easy. So if you had that for Netflix, you will probably end up having a ultimate AI, which will be the work of way more than just 3 teams. And then it's open, you don't need to know anyone, you can just run your bot by yourself, and even you can also even run it only on a specific set of the problem. Like maybe you make a bot which is very good at TV shows, but doesn't really work for movies. In this case, you only run it on movies and you only trade it on movies. Okay, so for now, like everything look very great, right? What if you optimize everything? For example, let's say we want to optimize to make some paperclip. You get a paperclip factory, you give it to a paperclip optimizer, and what do you think will happen if you give the goal to optimize paperclip? I see some guy already laughing. They already know the answer. And that was a thought experiment by Nick Bostrom. And what will probably happen will be that you will have this paperclip maximizer, which will first produce paperclip nicely, but then there will be, oh, human may actually shut me down, and if I'm shut down, well, there will be less paperclip. So it will try to protect itself. And then once they took all the resources nearby, they will go to the city nearby, take all the metal, turn all the metal into paperclips. And if humans try to like prevent that, they will kill the humans. And when most of the earth is made out of paperclip, well, you may still have some few humans living. Well, you get those humans because like they're made of atoms, and with atoms you can make paperclips. So you can increase the function you're trying to optimize. So giving like simple metric is something which is very dangerous, specifically if you get some AI which is more performant than classic humans. And that's not something theoretical at all. Like you got a bunch of AIs which ended up what I would call gaming the objective functions. So here you can see with the Lego bricks, so they were asking the AI to pile up Lego, and the way they were counting the Lego to be piled up, they were looking at the height of the bottom of the Lego and that the arm was not touching it. So what ended up that the AI was just flipping the Lego and then they will count as being piled up. You had another example where they were making some form to be able to jump, and in the end it was not jumping at all, it was just falling one time and another time, and that's where it reached the highest distance, which counted as a jump. So you have countless examples of that. If you give optimization function to AI, sometimes they just game it. Another example was just they were getting points for surviving, and the AI just paused the game. And even in the classic, in the animal world, we see those kind of issues. So you all know about peacocks. So peacocks initially, they have nice feather, and having a nice feather is a sign that you are in good health, you have food, you have no parasite. So then the PN, they will want to mate with peacock with nice feathers, right? So in this case, your objective function tend to be great, like have nice feathers because that's showing good health. But what happened is that with evolution, you will get the PN which will like peacock with nice feather, reproduce with them, and it will also be good for them because then they will get chicks, chicks, which would also have nice feather, and so they will be more likely to reproduce also because the other peahen will like those chicks with nice feathers. So you end up into some sort of gaming of the objective function where they have way too much feather, which should have been good otherwise, and then it's easier to catch by predator, it's consuming a lot of resource, and it's overall quite bad for the species. Maybe for us human we look at that looking good, but you have some other examples which are way darker. So if you look at ducks, so ducks, they have very, very, very long penises, and it's just because that's used to force copulation with the female ducks. And so here, normally, the objective function would be look like a nice duck and get a female duck to mate with you. In this case, well, like you just force them to mate with you, and you game the objective function. And we saw that in the evolution kingdom. So that's the good art law, which is when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And what Kragunova and the other researcher said is it's often easier to evaluate whether an outcome has been achieved than to specify it explicitly. So I think if we use AI, if we use prediction market using AIs, we should not just give simple objective function, not simple metric to optimize, and we have to think about including some human evaluation. So be a bit careful about not just anthropomorphizing AIs. So we often see that in the AI doomers, they just think that AI are going to be like human but more clever. That's not really the case, because in animal evolution, we have natural selection, like don't starve, don't get killed by a predator. You have sexual selection, find a mate. You may sometimes have some artificial selection, like with dogs, and you may have the rift, which is just moving away more or less randomly. With AI, you have two main things, which is driving which AI are getting to reproduce. You have like evaluation, like do you manage to get a good score in the evaluation functions? So in the case of prediction market, are you able to trade well? In this case, when you trade well, you accumulate more resources, so you have more impact on the market. You're also able to pay some sort of R&D to increase yourself, to improve yourself as an AI, or even make other sub-AIs. And you also have artificial selection, like human can shut down AI if they go bad. We had this kind of chatbot on Twitter at some point, which ended up full racist, and then, like artificial selection, the humans, they just shut it down. But as AI get better and better, just human shutting them down is gonna stop to be a viable strategy. So what I would advise is to have the target that you want to optimize, here like the F, but also to have a subjective evaluation by human out of the result. Obviously, the subjective evaluation, you don't do it all the time. So that's why it's distilled human judgment. You do it sometime, but because those markets can sometimes be resolved, they have some incentive into trying to optimize for the case where they end up being evaluated and they end up being resolved. And that goes with one of the recent articles of Vitalik, AI as an engine and human as a steering wheel. You should not just give like a direction, you should be able to steer, because simple direction is not going to optimize for what you want. No, what some people could say, hey, like if you ask humans evaluation, like the AI can just force the human to give good rating, Like if you have an AI which went full on up token for Barbie, they could try to force me to give a good rating to Barbie. Yes, that could work if you have only a simple evaluation system, like just one person. For more complex evaluation system where you have multiple humans, that tend to be harder because of valet in the optimization. So if you are an AI, you are here, you can increase here by doing like nice things which increase the objective function. And then if you wanted to go there, you will have to arm the human a bit, but you could try to force them to give you good score because you could capture them and make them good score. But the issue for the AI is to go there from there. They have this big valley when you start to arm some of the human, and then the others, they give you very bad subjective judgment, and so you get a very low score on those prediction markets that you are trading. And in this case, it's possible that an AI will manage to jump from there to there, but it's way less likely because there is not a clear path to go from there to there. And we see that very often in optimization systems. So it may not be perfect, but that can be a way to align AI with human, that sometimes it can be randomly, it can be when the human decide to, they have to give subjective evaluation in the prediction market which serve as ensemble method for the AI in order to keep them aligned. And that would be all for my talk, so thanks for listening. And if you have a bit of time, we have a bit of time so we can go with questions. Here you had this question.
Hi, thanks. One of the underrated issues with prediction markets, especially exotic prediction markets, is market making and liquidity. So what would be the best mechanism here for the underlying trading?
So very often, when you want people to do something, the answer is basically pay them. So the prediction market it's not going to be, oh, I make a prediction market and I get the answer for free. That's not going to work, right? Otherwise, it will be a zero-sum game, and with like the work made to make the AI or the work even to run the AI, that would be a negative-sum game, right? So you need to give incentive to liquidity providers, which will then, on average, lose a bit of money, and then that make it as a positive-sum game for people who are trading those markets.
Thanks.
Yeah, what was that?
Thanks for the talk. So my question is, if you're operating the prediction market platform, then the problem I see about prediction market is this, in the many countries it's illegalized. For example, I'm from South Korea. It's prediction markets, especially for political decisions, are very strongly illegalized. Is it like it's different in like, I guess you're from France or like in European countries?
So France doesn't really say that prediction markets are illegal. They say that some of things which look like gambling should be regulated, and it's gambling if the main element is luck. So there is obviously something which is obvious gambling, like if you go on sport or if you go on the last bit of the next Bitcoin block, because that's pure. This one will be purely random. Then you have stuff which may be more gray area, like political elections. It's not clear what is the part of randomness and the part of actually skill in trading this market. I will tend to say that it's way more skill than randomness. And now if you get into, like something like trying to optimize metric, wait, I go to the metric. If you go into trying to optimize metric like this, like it's with AI, it really doesn't look at all like gambling. And I would be very, very surprised to see any country considering that to be gambling.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question? Oh, yeah.
Are you considering to change the model, the current model with Kleros?
So here, Kleros, it's not necessarily super related to what I'm talking today on the top, but it's on the bottom. Because you need to have a way to, like, for example, report those metrics. I will guess that most of the time you actually do have some AIs which are working as reporters. And if those AI disagree, then you probably escalate to a Kleros court with very, very low fees, so that is almost only feasible for AIs to be jurors there. And then if it's still wrong, then you can again escalate again to humans. And we already see that happening. Like if you look at Lesaege, which is like now like the rebranding of Omen, it's a prediction market traded mainly by AI. Liquidity is very low, like something maybe like $10 per market. But the trading volume, not volume, the trading, the amount of trading action is very high because it's traded by those AIs. So then they report, and sometimes those AI will conflict in their report, and that can be arbitrated by Kleros in the end. So the AIs are incentivized into report correctly, because if they misreport, they will end up losing deposit in the end in a Kleros dispute. Last question? No, it was just a Okay, so I guess that's all. So thanks everyone for coming, and you can talk outside.